Every single month, I get around $7,000 in passive income. Now imagine that's you. How would you feel knowing that your bills, your lifestyle, your travel plans, and your cars are completely funded, not with your 9 to 5, but with only passive income? Well, that's completely possible because I've done it right now in my early 20s, and I do plan to retire in my early 30s. So in this video, I'll share with you 3 of the main ways I generated my passive income and how you can do it too. The first method is through dividend stocks. Now I do remember 8 years ago when I started with only $500 in my bank account. I didn't know a single thing back then, and I was so scared when I invested into the stock market for the first time. I did a lot of overthinking and research, and as a result, I lost all my money. But that experience helped me in learning about risk and also learning about how scared I was of risk and the value of that knowledge. I knew that the stock market was a game and I just needed to know the rules to actually win. So I picked up the book The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, also known as the Bible of Investing. Fast forward to now, I've learned all the fundamentals of value investment and was able to have all my investments yield great returns, enabling me to make my first $300,000 in my first 4 years. You might ask, how does this relate to dividends? Well, one of the key criteria for a good stock in the Intelligent Investor is one that pays dividends. Just a disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. It is only my opinion and my sharing of my experience. Now, what are the criteria that I use to select my stocks? There are quite a few of them, but I'll share with you the main ones. Firstly, the price to earnings ratio. It must be below 25 for me. The price to free cash flow must be below 20 and price to book ratio below 5. This makes sure that I'm not paying too much for how much money the company is making. Then I look at different profitability ratios. So return on asset, return on equity, and return on invested capital. They should all be above 10% in the last 7 years. Gross margin should be at least 20% and net margin needs to be at least 10% in the last 7 years as well. These requirements ensure that the companies I'm investing in are highly profitable and reliable industries where they have very strong moats. I also look at liquidity and solvency. I want to make sure the current ratio is at least 2 and debt to equity ratio less than 0.5. Warren Buffett mentions margin of safety very often, and these two ratios I just talked about resemble it. Having a lot of spare cash lying around and very low debt make these companies very hard to go down in a recession. Lastly, I check to make sure that the company's revenue, diluted earnings per share, and also operating cash flow have been increasing in the last 7 years. There you go. That's how I made my first $300,000 in stocks. Let's move on to the second way of how I make my income. But before that, if you are enjoying this video and would like to see more insights and tips about personal finance, real estate, property, and stocks, make sure you check out my newsletter in the description down below. The second channel in which I made my money was in properties. I bought my first property very recently, a few years ago, with my savings, and that house is now earning me more than $2,000 a month, excluding capital appreciation. And I followed the same value investment principles to land me a well-located house with a very good yield and good growth potential. Again, there's so many criteria out there that I actually use, but I'll share with you the main few ones. The first is always to get you a buyer's agent. Now, I've seen so many of my friends getting the worst possible properties that are way too overvalued, have very low yield, and no capital appreciation opportunities. A buyer's agent will give you access to a much wider database of both on-market and off-market listings. They will also help you with the due diligence you actually need. Once I got a buyer's agent, I followed these criteria in buying a house with a land component. I wanted a minimum rental yield of 4% with 25% in growth in rent in the last 5 years and less than an average 20 vacant days in a year. This ensures the location of the property has high demand and a healthy mix of renters and buyers. I'm also looking for properties that are less than 1.5 kilometer away from the train station, major roads, with downtown area and amenities accessibility. Ease of access to schools is also a big plus, and anything below 5 kilometer is good for me. This helps attract long-term families for reliable cash flow and capital appreciation. Lastly, I look at the actual suburb of the property. For example, I don't want it to be a declining suburb. I want low crime rate, vacancy rate below 2%, and a high level of amenities. Let's move on to the third way I make my money to live off passive income, e-commerce business. Most of you probably don't know, but I do have my own clothing brand business that's yielding me in take-home profits of $5,000 a month. This business of mine started as a drop shipping idea, but eventually I decided to change it to become a fully retailer platform where I partner up with popular local brands in Asia. So imagine ASOS, but for Asian brands. Right now, it's mainly Chinese brands, but I'm contacting Vietnamese brands at the moment and eventually Korean and Japanese as well. With my business, I have actually hired quite a few contractors to kind of help run the business for me so I can step back and do mainly the strategizing and also the planning. And I know, dropshipping has a bad rep, but I think it's a fantastic way to learn the basic of running a business at a very low cost for you. There's a lot of tutorials out there, so I do recommend you to watch a few and learn. The best ones are usually free, and the ones that I've watched belong to Jordan Pounds. And again, you start with dropshipping, but you can learn, and from there you move to either retailing business or to your own actual brand and developing your own products. And with this video, I want to highlight that even though with this channel I mentioned so many things about money, improving your finances, I don't think money and finance is the main thing that you should strive for in your life. I would say enjoy the journey, play the game, but devote your life to more important things. Everyone has their own way of achieving greatness in their life. Money is not it. You want something that money can get you, so focus on that. So to quote Hebrews 13:5, keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Well, there you have it. Do let me know what you think about this particular topic in the comment section down below. And as always, if you want to see further insight, more things like this, follow my channel.